Meanwhile, the Senate has accused the executive of submitting an incomplete medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper to the National Assembly. Senate leader Ali Ndume at today's legislative proceedings drew the attention of lawmakers to a statement credited to the Minister of Budget and National Planning contained in a newspaper publication where the minister allegedly stated that the National Assembly is to be blamed for any delay in the presentation of next year's budget.
It has become almost a given for the Executive and the National Assembly to clash when it's time for the presentation and consideration of a new national budget. We witnessed this in previous administrations, and this trend continues even with the arrival of a new administration. Nigerians may be in for another round of clashes between the Executive and the National Assembly as the Senate is accusing the Executive of submitting an incomplete medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal policy paper to the Senate.
If you look at this document that they call MTEF, it's empty. Going through and knowing that it's empty, on October 16th or 19th, this is my letter. I wrote to the Minister of Budget and National Planning, and I stated, to enable the Senate objectively review the MTEF from a holistic fiscal perspective, we deem it necessary to invite you to a meeting to brief the leadership of the Senate on Tuesday 1st. And the minister failed to turn up.
However, the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udo Udoma, has expressed surprise at the accusation by the Senate leader to the effect that he snubbed the Senate and refused to turn up for a scheduled meeting on November 1st, 2016. In a press statement, it said that while acknowledging receipt of a letter from Senator Ndume inviting him for a meeting with the Senate leadership, the minister said the meeting was eventually moved by agreement and wondered why Senator Ndume would go on the floor of the upper chamber to say he failed to turn up when he was aware that the meeting was rescheduled. More pointers to a strained relationship between the Executive and the Senate was shown as the Senate spokesman is asking public officials not to make careless statements capable of setting the public against the National Assembly.
It's good for Nigerians to begin to look. Are we sure that this government is not padded with some people who want to frustrate it? Maybe there's government padding also.
In July this year, Senate President Bukola Saraki set up 2 committees to reform the country's national budgeting process. But how much can the recommendations of these committees work when the National Assembly and the Executive cannot set aside their differences and work together to put together and implement a national budget? Linda Akibi, Channels Television News.
Some members of the House of Representatives Committee have accused the Federal Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Debt Management Office of trying to frustrate its investigation into the disbursement and utilization of bailout funds to the state authorities. The ad hoc committee says that these agencies have refused to submit documents needed by the committee to carry out its duties. Our correspondent Larry Lasisi reports.
Those against it.
It is one of the few motions considered as a matter of urgent national importance. A motion on the need to investigate the Presidential Committee on Arms Procurement, which has failed to submit its report despite concluding its assignment.
Just also note that up till now the committee have not submitted its report. This has led to non-payments to companies that have executed various projects and jobs, leading to untold hardship on the contractors, vendors, and their workers.
The House has mandated a joint committee to investigate the matter and report back to the House. The House also considered another motion calling for an investigation into the accruals and management of the Nigerian Content Development Fund, which is alleged to have risen to over $1 billion as at July 2016.
Consigned that since its inception, the fund has been lying waste, and indigenous contractors were unable to access the funds due to rigid terms and conditions, as well as discouraging process of application set by commercial banks.
An ad hoc committee is to look into the matter and report back in 6 weeks.
Let the governor be informed. Governor of Central.
Meanwhile, at the committee level, representatives of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Debt Management Office, and the Federal Ministry of Finance appeared before an ad hoc committee of the House. The committee is investigating the disbursement and utilization of bailout funds given to some state governments. Members of the committee, however, queried the failure of these agencies to submit needed documents to the committee.
I am really sad because the institutions that have been requested to address this issue by this parliament have failed to do so.
I think it should be on record for Nigerians to know that the executive arm of government, especially the CBN, the DMO and the Ministry of Finance, they are not interested in the welfare of Nigerians. And so Nigerians should rise up and call them to resign.
The chairman of the ad hoc committee then gave this ruling.
I ruled that the persons that appear before this committee are not competent persons that will answer the questions that we will have for the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Federal Ministry of Finance, and the DMO.
The committee says it will fix another date for the agencies to appear, failing which they will be forced to compel appearance before the committee. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
The Inspector General of Police has set up a special panel to probe allegations of abuse of female IDPs in the Northeast. The international rights group Human Rights Watch had claimed in a report it released on Monday that security forces, vigilante and other government officials were involved in sexual exploitation of female IDPs. According to a statement by the IGP, Mr. Ibrahim Idris, the investigative team is to look into all cases of alleged sexual abuses, exploitation, gender-based violence and professional misconduct on IDPs in some northeastern states, stating that he is deeply concerned about the submissions in the report. A police boss adds that he is committed to the safety of vulnerable members of the public. He's asked the Human Rights Watch officials to give the investigation panel more facts to assist in its inquiry. Here's Gloria Umezoke now with more on the news at 10. Hi, Gloria.
Thank you, Amarachi. The residents of Abagana and Okpo communities are still at loggerheads over the destruction of houses and markets in both communities during recent clashes. The victims are demanding compensations, quick dispensation of justice and rehabilitation of their communities.
So far, the alleged mastermind of the attack and 15 others have been arraigned in court and presently remanded in prison custody. Exactly 2 months ago, the quiet Ukwa community in Dunakofia local government area of Anambra State was rattled with heavy gunshots and sounds of explosives in the dead of the night. In the morning, the wreckage and damage were enormous. Major parts of property belonging to the police force, which included police buildings, patrol vehicles and ammunition, were destroyed. The attack was linked to the lingering land dispute between the Ukwa community and the neighboring Abagana town. But in that crisis, a young man of 30 years, Emmanuel Okafor, was shot dead. His 20-year-old widow, who lost their only baby 2 months ago, is in pain.
My husband was a security man and he went to Abagana for his night duty. And Abagana people come there and start diligence killing. May justice take good care of my husband's case. Let them not leave it like that or to go in vain.
The second victim, Sergeant Mato Cephas, was lucky to be alive, but with multiple gunshots in the body and in the skull. His wife remains thankful. 2 other victims had their legs shattered, and for 2 months now, they are in the hospital with doctors battling to see if they will still walk with their legs again.
Nobody has come to my help except the traditional law people who has been helping me. They're giving me some money to pay, and then for my upkeep. He's the only person that has come to my aid.
Meanwhile, the panel set up by the state government led by Justice Chinyelu Onigbogu to investigate the cause of the crisis has commenced sitting with full representation from the two communities.
We pray and hope that through this panel, peace will be achieved. We have come to say the truth and nothing but the truth, and we hope that truth shall prevail.
We have come to respect the governor because blessed are peacemakers. He wants peace in our community just as he has achieved peace in Anambra State.
For the two communities, what is of great importance is getting compensation for their homes destroyed during the mayhem. They, however, appeal to the authorities to ensure settlement of the dispute so that those aggrieved do not return to the trenches again.
The protest by workers at the headquarters of the National Agency for Food, Drugs Administration and Control has entered the third week. They are demanding that the government pays all outstanding allowances while implementing the Consolidated Research and Allied Workers' Salary Structure. According to the protesting workers, efforts by the government to resolve the crisis have failed and none of their demands have been met. To the judiciary now, the Lagos State government has asked the Supreme Court to set aside the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which on July 12, 2013, discharged and acquitted Major Hamza Al-Mustafa in the murder case of late Alhaja Kudirat Abiola, wife of the presumed winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, late Chief MK Abiola. In place of the appeal court's decision, the state government pleaded with the apex court to uphold and restore the death sentence by hanging placed on the former chief security officer to the late head of state, General Sani Abacha, by a Lagos High Court on January 30, 2012. This move is coming more than 3 years since the appellate court freed the former CSO for want of credible evidence to link him directly with the murder. Al-Mustafa, Mohammed Abacha, and one Latif Shofalaon were arraigned before a Lagos High Court on 2-count criminal charge of conspiracy and to commit murder and the murder of the late Kudirat Abiola on June 4, 1996 in Lagos State. A defense witness in the trial of the former spokesman of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Olisa Metu, has told the Federal High Court in Abuja that Mr. Metu was paid 400 million naira through the Office of the National Security Advisor. The witness, one Mr. Richard Ihediwa, added that out of that amount, Mr. Metu paid former PDP board chairman, Chief Tony Aneni, the sum of 21 million naira for use of a center in Asokoro district of Abuja to execute media advocacy project job. Meanwhile, the court has asked the registrar to furnish the prosecutor with all the necessary documents regarding the application by one of Mr. Metu's sureties seeking to withdraw as a guarantor. Still ahead on the news at 10, Securities and Exchange Commission leadership seeks to boost investor confidence in the capital market. Meets former President Obasanjo and Ogun State Governor Amosu. Well, that's coming on Business News. Please join us again.